All right. Well, this is one of those stories or videos where it's just a thing that I came completely out of nowhere. Kevin Samuels, aka the controversial, you know, content creator on the internet who kind of blew up in recent years. I believe it was stated he started his channel back in like 2015, doing these interviews with men and women, and they would call in, pretty much ask for advice about how to get a specific, type of man, type of woman, what have you. And he was known for being, harsh, but, over the years, he grew into becoming more of a bigger figure in pop culture. I mean, even recently this year, didn't he talk with Nicki Minaj, and then wasn't he at the beginning of a music video for Future or another artist? But I know there was like a little window earlier this year where he just kept popping up everywhere. Now let me just put it this way. I cannot sit here and say that I'm a stan or, a huge fan of Kevin Samuels. Put it this way. Trey Mo, who is an internet comedian, I was introduced, if you will, to Kevin Samuels through his parody videos, Tevin Manuals, which are hilarious, by the way. And I feel like I've watched more of those videos than full-on Kevin videos, because the Kevin videos I've seen in like segments, like little isolated clips that have gone viral and, have been broken down on other YouTube channels, particularly, like male YouTubers who talk about how, this is what the modern woman looks for, someone who has multiple baby daddies, no steady income, but then they want someone to take care of them and their kids to make 6 or 7 figures and go from there. But this was an interesting news story because I was up late at night when the story kind of broke, or at least when I saw it trending, and it had only been about 30-40 minutes. There weren't a lot of outlets. You know how it is, unless TMZ or, another huge media outlet that a lot of people are familiar with, more often than not, it's a rumor. Because when the post I saw while scrolling on Instagram said, 56-year-old Kevin Samuels died of cardiac arrest, I'm like, wait, what? And then, I looked to see if it was trending. I only saw like maybe 1,500 tweets about it. I'm like, nah, I mean, Kevin Samuels, I know he wasn't like a huge person on the internet and whatnot, but he had a decent sized following, hence why he goes viral from time to time. But I wasn't seeing enough people talking about it. Everybody I did see talking about it was saying it was a rumor. So then you get to the next day where his mother confirmed the death, and just seeing the level of celebratory tweets and dragging and whatnot of this man was kind of unsettling. But, there's always been the split of people who feel he dragged black women. And I think one of his last interviews or clips that went viral was talking about, leftover women, women who are over the age of 30 with kids or, no kids or whatever, and pretty much, washed up. And that led to some controversy. But in my opinion, Ian, I'm not really telling anybody how to handle this situation. But for me, like I said, I watched maybe 2 or 3 full interviews. When I say full interviews, I don't mean like I sat through like 3-hour long videos, but no, I went to the specific interviews where, let's say, Kevin went viral for, talking down to this black woman. I'm like, in the same vein of, let's say, videos where, a black man is killed by the police or whatever the situation is. When we only see maybe a 30-second or 15-second clip, I need to see the whole thing to get full context. So I went to, kind of search for these interviews, and I looked at a couple of them, and there were times where I'm like, okay, well, this woman straight up was disrespectful from the jump. And, Kevin would ask a question and they would either beat around the bush or not even say an answer. They would like jump from one thing to another. They'll talk about how they would waste no time going on like a venting session of how men have done them wrong, why they feel, why can't a woman lead a relationship instead of the man. But then when Kevin asks a simple question, so what's your income, what's your dress size, this and that, they would immediately go so again, I'm not saying he had the best way of responding to certain people he interviewed, but at the same time, it's like a lot of his conversations I felt were needed to snap some people into reality, in the sense of you really need to look at yourself before you make expectations or a list of what you want in a man or a woman. Because something that's not talked about as much is, I actually did, I did further digging on his earlier content. It's amazing how many of the videos Kevin is known for that has gone viral were from, him talking down to black women. He has plenty of content where he's done the same thing to black men who call in and, they'll talk about, women are ridiculous. It's like, how come no woman wants me? How come I can't get a woman that's a 10, that kind of thing. They'll say, well, sir, you're overweight. You're not making a good enough income. You still live with your mama. See, it's interesting how content where black men or talked down or degraded to, that's kind of acceptable in the norm. But whenever black women or women in general are in that similar boat, it's disturbing. It goes viral. That person is made public enemy number one. And I'm just interested at the number of people who are in their feelings or happy that he's dead. And I'm thinking to myself, and like I said before, I'm not the biggest Kevin Samuels fan in terms I could tell you all of his stats, how many videos he's done, this and that, what he has done wrong, what he's done right, that kind of thing. But to me, I think about all the black women, for example, who just, celebrate to death. How many of them kick back and enjoy watching shows like, what's it called? The Real? The one that Tamara Mowry was on at one point, but I don't think she's on anymore. I think it's about to have its last season too. I know there's like, isn't it like Lonnie Love and a few other people on there? It's like 3 or 4 women. And just one example of so many female talk shows where the subject is talking about, men need to do this, this, and this. But the thing about it is, they set all these expectations and stereotypes of what the modern woman wants. Yet when you have males, not just Kevin Samuels, but a number of other, males on the internet, they have their own outlets where they talk about, well, here's what women need to do. I mean, it's interesting how many times it's brought up what men need to do. Men need to do this, men need to be that. But when a man, and that could be said by women, but when a man actually steps forward and says, well, hey, women should be this, this, and this, it's degrading, it's sexist, and it's looked down on. Where a man is telling the truth, yes, it's done harshly most of the time, but at the same time, it's a reality check that needs to be had. Because truth be told, and I've decided this for myself before even really looking into Kevin Samuels. You all know me, like, I'm not really trying to date or anything until I get a house. And even then, I'm not even trying to rush to a relationship, because I'll finally have my own space. It's just that I know that I'm not exactly a quote unquote high value man. Yes, I'm making a good amount of money. I'm educated, but I don't feel like I'm in a position where I would be able to add, into another person's life or, a woman's life, but still live with my parents. It's a norm, but in nowadays, especially with millennials. But I feel like for me, let me go ahead, get my house set up, because, well, I already got a car that's been long since paid off. I got a, consistent forms of income and whatnot. And that's, what I'm really striving for, to continue that by getting my own place and then moving up from there. It's just that it's interesting to me how women can have these outlandish expectations of relationships or what they want in a man, where they can go have their fun, sleep with 15, 20 different men, wind up with a bunch of kids, bunch of baby daddies. But in terms of them settling down, they have to go for somebody like a Russell Wilson, somebody who has a fat bank account, is a clean cut dude. And they'll say, you know what, only real men date single mothers. It's like, wait, what? So for to have a man actually step forward and talk about how women need to lower their expectations and realize you're not a high value woman despite wanting a high value man, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Same way with men. It's like men need to have realistic expectations. I mean, how many millionaires, how many men with millions of dollars are seen on red carpet events with busted up women who have multiple kids and whatnot? Same thing with women. How many women are with dudes who have no, job and whatnot? Well, I'm talking like, in marriages and whatnot. So it's just one of those situations where I feel like there's a lot of controversy surrounding his death. Not that it was suspicious or anything, but in terms of how Kevin Samuels is to be remembered. That's just kind of my take on it. But let me know your thoughts. Were you someone who was a fan or casual viewer, or you didn't even really go out your way to look at his content? It kind of just popped up in your face because this video went viral, that video went viral. But I find it interesting that a certain demographic or audience is actually showcasing happiness at his death, because to be honest, I feel like at the core, his message was about accountability, a man or woman bettering themselves, because there's really no point in pursuing a relationship if you don't bring anything of value to the relationship. If you're not adding on to another person's life and vice versa, then there's really no need of you and another person to be together. But like I said, that's my takeaway from the material that I looked at from his back catalog. But hey, it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think about Kevin Samuels? Or are you a person like, hey, I was already married by the time he kind of went viral, or I was already in a relationship, so there really was no need to look into his content. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the general consensus is for people on my channel who have, looked at his stuff before. But yeah, that's all I got. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.